Hi everyone. Today's video is actually part one of two videos that I'm going to do about the top 10 myths about financial advice. So have a watch of this one, and then in a couple of months' time I'll come to the second part of it, so do check back for the other half of that. Let's get stuck in. What I've learned as an IFA is that there are so many myths about IFAs and financial advice that I'm really keen to debunk. So I've done a few social media posts about them, but what I thought would be a good idea is to bring them all together into a video or two videos so that hopefully I can shed some light for you on what an IFA can and can't help you with and why it is worth seeing them, especially if you've got several things or a particular problem that you want some help with. So we'll do the first 5 in this video, and then as I said, in a few months' time we'll revisit it and I'll do part 2, which will be the second 5. So let's start with myth number 1. I don't need a financial advisor. This is quite a common myth because a lot of people seem to think that IFAs can only help you if you've got a lot of money or you're coming up to retirement and you need help retiring, or you've got a lot of money and you need help investing it, or inheritance tax issues or anything like that. They can obviously help in those areas, but they can really help you early on in your life as well. Finances are really important to get stuck into as young as you can, and your family might have included you in investment decisions if they've put some money aside for you for houses and cars and things like that. So depending on what exposure you've had to financial education, you might have been aware that actually this is something you need to start thinking about as early as possible. Generally, university is quite a big financial expense that a lot of people have. They come out of that with some sort of debt that needs repaying, but they generally don't think about that. And again, an IFA can't help you with that, but that will just happen in the background when you reach the certain thresholds that the student loan company have set out. But anything beyond university really is when an IFA can help you. If you're looking to buy a house or get married or have children, and certainly pension planning is really important, and that is something you should think about early on. So it's definitely worth talking to an IFA to get those financial plans in place as soon as you can, and just to map out what your financial life could look like and to ensure that you can have the financial journey that you want. Financial advice myth number 2. I can't afford financial advice. Now, with most IFAs, the initial meeting is free of charge and free of obligation, and that's how I operate. So there's no charge for an initial meeting and there's no time limit put on it. We can either meet in an office, in your home, via video calling, whatever you would prefer. And that's just really time for you to tell me what your objectives are and what you want to achieve, and for me to tell you about who I am and how I can help you. We don't think it's right to put a charge on that meeting because we're not giving you any advice at that point. It's just laying the foundations and working out how we can help you. The charges only become applicable once you get further down the line and a recommendation is made, but all those fees are disclosed to you before anything is taken and before any recommendation is proceeded with. Also, the way fees are taken, there can be a bit of a misconception about that as well. So you might decide, I can't see an advisor because I haven't got thousands of pounds sitting in a bank and they're going to want that money from me in a cheque as soon as I go and see them. A lot of the time, if we set up pensions for people or we do transfers of investments and things like that, we can actually take our fee from the pension or the investment as it moves from a provider to a provider. Or if you're making pension contributions monthly, we can actually take our fee over, say, 4 or 6 months as little chunks from the contributions that you're paying in. So it absolutely is affordable for everyone. Financial advice myth number 3. I don't need a will. This can be true in certain situations, but generally if you have something in your life that you want to pass on to a particular person or to a particular charity, you need to write that down somewhere, and the best place to write that down is in a will. If you have children or grandchildren, or there's a particular charity that you really want to help out when you pass away, that money's only going to go to the right people if you say in your will that you want it to go to those people. If you don't write a will, the government will step in with the rules of intestacy, and they are preset rules saying who your money should go to. But that might be helpful if you have quite a straightforward situation. But if you happen to have quite a tricky family situation and you don't want certain people to get certain things, or you want certain people to get certain specific things, if you don't write that down, that won't happen. So it's really important to build that into a will and to get a will written as soon as possible. Wills are also very important if you have children or if you have dependents that you need to take care of. You can stipulate in your will who you want to look after your children if something were to happen to you or to you and your partner, and they would essentially be orphaned. So it's really important to build that in, that guardianship. You need to have your say into who you want to bring them up. And again, that can only go into a will, only legally binding in a will. It's definitely advisable to see a solicitor about this, and I can certainly recommend someone to you if you would like me to do so, but it's only legally binding if it's written in the right way. Make sure you do it and make sure you make it watertight. Financial advice myth number 4. I don't have time to see an advisor. Recently, this myth has debunked itself, I think, because I've done so many Zoom chats and so many video calls with clients that if they didn't realise it before, people are certainly starting to realise that you can have a chat with an IFA wherever you are in the country and you don't have to be in the same location as they are. I mean, we did offer this before lockdown and before COVID-19, but it's certainly become more and more popular over recent months. It doesn't mean you have to come into an office between 9 and 5 when the office is open. It means we can come and see you either in your home, if we're allowed to, or via Zoom. We do evening calls, weekend calls. There's certainly a time and a place that we can meet that's convenient for both of us, and it doesn't mean you have to be in exactly the same location. So don't use that as an excuse to not see an IFA. Financial advice myth number 5, the state will provide for me. Now, I think many people don't really think about what benefits you could claim were you to be in a certain situation, but it is something to look at, and you might have thought that you would get certain benefits or you'd be entitled to certain things, but actually you may not qualify for those. And certainly the government have changed what situation you need to be in to be entitled to certain things, especially with universal credit being swept in. So it's really important, if you think I don't need this or I don't need that, I don't need a protection policy, I don't need an emergency fund, why do you think that? And make sure you do a fact check and check that your facts are right. A lot of the time state benefits are only for people that are on minimum wages or in certain situations that you might not qualify for, or you might have qualified for those benefits, but things have changed and you actually fall out of that catchment now. So it's really important to check that what you anticipate you would get as a state benefit is actually what you would be qualifying for. If it's not, then you definitely need to sort out everything, get your ducks in a row, and make sure you do have in place policies that will protect you if certain things happen to you. Right, everyone, that was the first 5 myths that we're going to go through today. I hope they've been helpful. If you've got any questions, let me know, and I'll go through the next 5 myths in a couple of months' time, so keep an eye out for that video. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll see you next month.